Welcome everyone to DOOP by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union, with me, El Parcero Philly, Johnny Sports Talk. And on today's episode, we're doing something a little bit different. We're not just covering the Philadelphia Union, we'll be doing the whole MLS. And in this video, we'll be talking about my predictions of the Eastern Conference. Up next. Now, when we look at the Eastern Conference, we can tell there has been a decline from last season. There's been some star players that have left the league from this conference, and I generally wouldn't be surprised if the Eastern Conference is tighter than any year we've ever seen. But let's get started with my predictions. Start off with last place. And we have Orlando City SC. And that's no knock on you Orlando City SC fans. The knock is on your front office, who I have questioned since the inception of you guys. Obviously, Orlando made headline news 2 weeks ago with the signing of Portuguese international Nani, which was a great sale if you want to sell tickets to Manchester United fans in your area. We're talking about a declining 32-year-old Nani. And I know in the MLS, teams are starting to steer away from signing those older, declining European stars. But obviously, last season, we saw that with Wayne Rooney, it can work. Unfortunately, though, Nani has never demonstrated the leadership skills that Wayne Rooney has. The way these aging European stars can come here and help your club is with their leadership and experience. I'm not sure if Nani can help this club at all. They have a nice attack as well. Obviously, Dom Dwyer and Sasha Kleshin is still there. It's going to be interesting to see if James O'Connor, in his first full season as Orlando City coach, if he can get this team together and score some goals. Unfortunately, though, I think this team is going to implode on them again, and this front office really has to get their stuff together. They are one of the main reasons why they are where they're at. I think Orlando City finishes in last place. And in 11th place, I have Toronto FC. And boy, Toronto's been falling on some hard times. It was only 2 seasons ago that we saw Toronto FC hoist the MLS Cup, and now are looking like to finish second to last place in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they stole headlines this offseason, allowing their star player Sebastian Giovinco to walk and go over to play over in Saudi Arabia. And so far in CONCACAF Champions League, it has not gone well at all, as they've already been eliminated by Independiente from Panama. The question this season for Toronto is how they are going to replace the production of Sebastian Giovinco. He was a crucial key to their attack. Right now have signed Alejandro Pozuela. He's a Spanish midfielder from Genk over in Belgium. I would believe that he would play more up top in the forward position, maybe right behind Josie Altidore, because they already have Jonathan Osorio and Michael Bradley in the center of the midfield. This Toronto FC team feels a lot different from what they felt like 2 years ago. They don't feel like the same power they once were. In this weird, awkward transition for Toronto, I think they will struggle. And I have them finishing in 11th. And in 10th place, I have the Chicago Fire. We're coming off a pretty mediocre season, which came as a surprise with the talent that Chicago Fire have, with guys like Bastian Schweinsteiger, Georgi Mihailovic, Nemanja Nikolic, Diego Campos, Dax McCarty, and Alexander Katai. But it seemed like with all the talent in the midfield, they couldn't get much production in the other positions. Go figure, right? The last season allowed way too many goals as well, which was a product of all the talent only in one area of the pitch. Chicago also did bring in my boy CJ Sapong to come in and help with scoring. I think CJ, if they give him a chance, will have a bounce back season. The main issue with Chicago Fire has to be the disconnect from the top of the organization to the fans. They have lost their fans due in part with winning. They haven't won much. They haven't really been making playoffs. Since the 2000s, Chicago have really been irrelevant, in all honesty. Winning will cure all, but they have to find a way to connect back with the fans. And in 9th place, we have New England Revolution, who unfortunately were in the headlines of the news lately with Robert Kraft, but we won't get into that. As last year finished in 8th, and were pretty close into making the playoffs. But their flaw was their inability to win away from Foxborough. But I think the refs should be improved this season. I believe in their coach, Brad Friedel, who's going into his second season, and I think they improved on the attack as well. Bringing in DP Carlos Gilles has Premier League and La Liga experience. He's coming over from Deportivo La Coruña. He more than likely will play under the number 9 striker. They also bought Juan Fernando Caicedo on loan from Deportivo Independiente Medellín, who I think will transition nicely to the MLS game, and I think he will be great at the number 9 for New England. And with Panilla returning back for another season, and Diego Fagundes, after rumor back home to Uruguay, is staying in New England and will probably be shifted back out into the wing where he had success previously before in his career. For New England to have one of the more weaker ownership groups, they have one of the best teams, in my opinion. There's a lot of talent and they have a good coach. Unfortunately, though, it won't be enough for them to make the playoffs. I think they'll knock on the door, but at the end, I think they will finish in 9th place this year. In 8th place this season, I have the newcomers, FC Cincinnati, who are coming over to the MLS from USL. And with them, they bring their passionate sellout fans. I think they have some solid pieces in their first season in the MLS. Obviously, up top in the attack, I like guys like Adi Lamé and Darren Maddox. And of course, in the back, they got Kendall Watson and Greg Garza, 2 solid defenders. But unfortunately, I don't think they have enough depth, and that's going to be crucial for them. The beginning of the season won't be easy as well, playing the first 3 matches away from home. These guys are going to bring out some sellout crowds, match in and match out in Cincinnati. But the key is, can they win away from home? And do they have enough depth to last the whole season in the MLS? I think they will knock on the door for the playoffs in their first season. It will make it very difficult, but I don't think they have what it takes to make the playoffs, and they will finish in 8th place. With this new MLS season, it brings us a new playoff format. Now, in each conference, there are 7 teams instead of 6. And now, with the 7th place team, I believe we will see Montreal Impact, who have been knocking on the door for the playoffs last year, but unfortunately just missed out. This year, they didn't change much up. Obviously, it all starts with Piatti up top with the scoring. They did bring Max Urruti from Dallas, who should help change the mentality in Montreal. They cannot rely on Piatti this season to be the main workhorse. They need other guys to step up. But I think this year, they will have enough to make the playoffs and will finish in 7th. In 6th place, I have NYCFC. Obviously, the big news is the loss of David Villa, who is headed over to Japan. The loss of David Villa is huge. Not only brought better leadership, but every time he was on the pitch, he was a threat to score. And the question is, how are they going to replace that production? To make up for David Villa's production, NYCFC went out and signed a DP. Alexandru Mitrita, a 24-year-old Romanian international who came from the Romanian league. Now, Mitrita is a versatile player. He can play in many different positions like the wing, attacking midfield, and even up top. In the preseason, we did see NYCFC place him up top. In the middle of last season, we saw Patrick Vieira make the move to Ligue 1 to coach Nice. In return was Dominic Torrent, who was the assistant over at Man City with Pep Guardiola. We all thought that they would improve, but NYCFC actually declined. They weren't as strong as they were with Patrick Vieira, but still were able to remain in the 3rd seed after beating Philly in the last match of the year. But if you ask me, NYCFC is the most overrated club going into this season. A lot of people still see them as one of the Eastern Conference powerhouses, but the loss of David Villa can't be forgotten about. And Dome Torrent is on the hot seat. Can he lead this team? I don't believe in them, which is why I have them in 6th place. In 5th place, I have DC United. Obviously, last year, the signing of Wayne Rooney created a huge spark within the franchise, as well as moving into their new home, Audi Field. There's a sense of excitement in DC, and there's a feeling of old DC United teams that are coming back, like the ones in the 90s and the ones in the early 2000s. But the question for me for DC is the depth. When they need guys to rest, especially like Wayne Rooney, who's going to step up? Now, it took them last year a strong second half performance to make the playoffs. Now let's see what they can do in a full season. Can they play consistent soccer from March until October? And in 4th place, I have the Columbus Crew. Last season was a tale of 2 halves. We saw in the beginning of the season Columbus Crew dealing with the drama of whether or not they were going to move to Austin or not. In the end, they were able to keep their club and have a new ownership group who is committed to growing the Columbus Crew brand. As well as the bright spot was Greg Berhalter. We saw his great managing skills over the past couple seasons, and it paid off, as he is now the head manager of the U.S. national team. And in comes proven Caleb Porter, who we saw win a MLS Cup with Portland. They keep a lot of the key pieces from last season back in this year's squad. You still have Zardes up top, we got Higuain in the midfield conducting this orchestra, and then in the back they still have Zach Steffen, at least until the summertime when he makes his big move to Manchester City. He will be is how much Caleb Porter tweaks this Craig Berhalter club. This is a good squad in place right now, and I don't think there needs to be much tweaking. And I expect Columbus to make another good run in the playoffs and will finish in 4th place. 3rd place is where I'll probably get most of my controversy. And that is because I'm putting my Philadelphia Union finishing 3rd in the Eastern Conference next season. And it's not far-fetched. Last year, they were a win in New York at the end of the season away from finishing 3rd. They finished last year with 50 points. It's not far-fetched that they can add another 5 points to their total points at the end of this season. Obviously, the addition of Marco Fabian is going to be huge. He's going to add a different dimension to the Union. With his awareness and vision on the pitch, he's going to improve everyone around him. And don't sleep on Sergio Santos Gomes. This is a guy coming from the Chilean league who is able to score down there. I believe he will come into the MLS and make a name for himself. In 2nd place again, I see... Man, I really gotta say this. I still see New York Red Bull in 2nd place this year. The New York Red Bulls have a system in place that works, in all honesty. Works enough to win Supporter Shield. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I still think that they will make the playoffs. Obviously, the loss of Tyler Adams will be huge. There's drama with Kaku. We will see how that works out throughout the season. But there's still a lot of important pieces in place with the New York Red Bull, and obviously their academy is one of the best. I still think they're going to use the same philosophy of plugging and playing players. I expect them to finish 2nd. I don't expect them to do much in the playoffs though. And at number 1, no surprise here, it's Atlanta United. They're just running away with the MLS. They are showing us what the standard should be in MLS. Obviously winning the MLS Cup last season, we all know Miguel Almiron is no longer with Atlanta United as he made the big move over to Newcastle. But in comes probably an upgrade, and that's the South American Player of the Year, Pity Martinez. He will play with already Joseph Martinez and Ezequiel Barco. I think the main question for Atlanta United this year is there's more pressure now. You guys are the champs. Now there is CONCACAF Champions League. That schedule is excruciating, and that just adds more pressure to you as well. Atlanta United is also going into this season with a new manager. Tata Martino is now the manager of the Mexico national team, and in comes Frank de Boer, a European coach who's coming over to a new league and hoping he can create the same success with Atlanta United that Tata Martino did. So for me, I will be looking at how Frank de Boer handles this talented club. But honestly, I expect Atlanta United to repeat this year. Guys, that's my prediction of the Eastern Conference. Like I said, I don't think it's as deep as we've seen in years past. I still think we will see some exciting play from this conference. But guys, let me know what you think. Down in the comments below, what's going to happen in the Eastern Conference? Will Atlanta United repeat? Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you guys are excited as the MLS returning as I am. If you like what you see, please support the channel. Like the video, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys again. Thanks, guys.